Watch Nikki Haley, a Republican candidate for president, explain this principle on CNN.
A win for Ukraine is a win for all of us. And for them to sit there and say that this is a territorial dispute, that's just not the case. To say that we should stay neutral, it is in the best interest of America. It's in the best interest of our national security for Ukraine to win. We have to see this through. We have to finish it.
See? It's very easy to understand.
Oh boy. Tucker Carlson returns with new show, Tucker on Twitter. Listen, we got a good one for you today. All right, Tucker is back. I've been waiting for him to come back. I think it's about time. Tucker talks about things that very few are talking about. So this is episode number 1. 10 minutes. We're going to be reacting to Tucker. So I'm not sure how Twitter is going to receive this message, but Tucker is addressing some things that I will say I haven't heard anywhere else. I had to do some digging because we are so distracted with Pride Month and all this stuff that's going on. But there are real issues happening in the world beyond all of these rainbow colors stuff that's going on in the world today. But there are real issues that could transform society forever. But these are things that the news either don't touch or nor talk about. Well, Tucker is doing just that. So like and subscribe to the page, click the bell icon for more. I found out over 91% of the people who watch this channel have not subscribed. I'm not mad at you. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop doing this. Let's get to the heart of this message.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. This morning, it looks like somebody blew up the Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine. The rushing wall of water wiped out entire villages, destroyed a critical hydropower plant, and as of tonight, puts the largest nuclear reactor in Europe in danger of melting down. So if this was intentional, it was not a military tactic, it was an act of terrorism. The question is, who did it? Well, let's see. The Kakhovka Dam was effectively Russian. It was built by the Russian government. It currently sits in Russian-controlled territory. The dam's reservoir supplies water to Crimea, which has been, for the last 240 years, home of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Blowing up the dam may be bad for Ukraine, but it hurts Russia more. And for precisely that reason, the Ukrainian government has considered destroying it. In December, the Washington Post quoted a Ukrainian general saying his men had fired American-made rockets at the dam's floodgate as a test strike. So really, once the facts start coming in, it becomes much less of a mystery what might have happened to the dam. Any fair person would conclude that the Ukrainians probably blew it up, just as you would assume they blew up Nord Stream, the Russian natural gas pipeline, last fall. And in fact, the Ukrainians did do that, as we now know. It's not like Vladimir Putin is anxious to wage war on himself. Oh, but that's where you're wrong, Mr. and Mrs. Cable News consumer. Vladimir Putin is exactly that sort of man, the sort of man who'd shoot himself to death in order to annoy you. We know this from the American media, which wasted no time this morning in accusing the Russians of sabotaging their own infrastructure. Bill Kristol, the man who once told us that Saddam Hussein was responsible for 9/11, immediately denounced Putin as a war criminal and even more savagely compared him to Donald Trump. The rest of the pundit class made similar, clearly coordinated noises. Putin did it! Putin did it! And their reasoning was simple. Putin is evil, and evil people do evil things purely for the dark joy of being evil. In this specific case, Putin attacked himself, which is the most evil thing you can do, and therefore perfectly in character for a man that evil.
Wow.
That was their explanation. No one who's paid to cover these things seemed to entertain even the possibility it could have been the Ukrainians who did it. No chance of that. Ukraine, as you may have heard, is led by a man called Zelensky. And we can say for a dead certain fact that he was not involved. He couldn't have been. Zelensky is too decent for terrorism. Now, you see him on television, and it's true you might form a different impression. Sweaty and rat-like, a comedian turned oligarch, a persecutor of Christians, a friend of BlackRock. But don't believe your own eyes. Actually, Mr. Zelensky is a very good man. The best, really. As George W. Bush once noted, he is our generation's Winston Churchill. Of all the people in the world, our shifty, dead-eyed Ukrainian friend in the tracksuit is uniquely incapable of blowing up a dam. He's literally a living saint, a man in whom there is no sin. That's why Lindsey Graham is so attracted to him. They're just two good people, hanging out together and being good. And like all good people, when they meet in person, they spend a lot of time talking about killing people and laughing like friends do. Here's the pair last week.
Free or die.
Free or die.
Now you are free.
Yes.
And we will be.
And the Russians are dying. It's the best money we've ever spent.
Thank you so much.
No,
Serious?
The Russians are dying. It's the
serious?
best money we've ever spent, Graham says. A smile spreads across his thin, quivering lips as he forms the words. He looks like a starving man contemplating a breakfast buffet. The aroma of death has aroused Lindsey Graham. Thanks so much, replies Zelensky. He feels the same way. See, there's nothing dark here. Just two middle-aged guys celebrating the killing of a population. They don't seem like the kind of people who'd enjoy flooding villages or starting a famine. And in any case, who cares if they are? It's really not your business. Your job is to support Ukraine. Watch Nikki Haley, a Republican candidate for president, explain this principle on CNN.
A win for Ukraine is a win for all of us. And for them to sit there and say that this is a territorial dispute, that's just not the case. To say that we should stay neutral, it is in the best interest of America. It's in the best interest of our national security for Ukraine to win. We have to see this through. We have to finish it.
See? It's very easy to understand.
Yeah.
It is vitally important for you to support Ukraine because it's necessary for Ukraine to be supported by you. Your support is mandatory until it's finished, whatever it is, and whatever that means. So shut up and support Ukraine, or else you're in trouble.
Yep.
Back when they still taught logic, statements like this were known as tautologies. Something is true because it is. The more you repeat it, the truer it becomes. It's a self-reinforcing reality. There was a time when tautologies were considered illegitimate arguments, not to mention hilariously stupid. Only dumb people talk like that. Now everybody in power talks like that. Diversity is our strength. Trans women are women. Zelensky is Churchill. It's all self-evidently true. Doesn't need an explanation, and don't ask questions. Sound familiar? Of course it does. That's the pap they're serving us day after day in steaming, lumpy portions. By this point, it's possible that American citizens are the least informed people in the world.
Well, we
Your
are
average
talking.
yak herder in Tajikistan knows who blew up.
I'm not gonna pause him too much because he's on fire right now. But we have very little information concerning what's happening regarding Ukraine and Russia. It's like it's a subject that is somewhat tabooed in the mainstream media. But we are inundated with Target and Bud Light and trends, and there's a lot other things happening, right? And that seems to be the topic of the day. But there's more happening to the world. There's more happening in the world than what we are being exposed to consistently. So we are not very much informed at all. I would say I had to go look for the facts. There are some channels that I listen to that brings this news. I'll share that with you at the end, but let Tucker finish.
Your average yak herder in Tajikistan knows who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. It's obvious. Does he think some skinny dude in a dress is actually a girl? Come on. That idea would never occur to him. You've got to be lied to at full volume over a period of years in order to reach conclusions like that. And of course, we have been. The media lie. They do. But mostly they just ignore the stories that matter. What's happened to the hundreds of billions of US dollars we've sent to Ukraine?
Don't talk.
No clue.
No, we don't know.
Who organized those BLM riots 3 years ago?
Oh, don't talk about that.
No one's gotten to the bottom of that. What exactly happened on 9/11?
I was just asking the same question just the other day. Like, why did Building 7 fall? And I was talking to my sons, and I was like, how is it that an airplane hits the top of the building and then there's this demolition, happening? It does make you wonder, there had to be more to this thing. An airplane hitting the top of the building should not cause it to fall in the way that he did, that defy all science and logic. It seems to me there must have been something planted in the building. There must have been some bombs planted. But these are things we can't talk about. It's conspiracy theorists to think about it. To have any level of curiosity is evil. You got to submit your conscience to whatever narrative they've given you. You cannot think for yourself. At least that's what we are made to feel like. But some of us are very doubtful and skeptical of this narrative they propose.
Well, it's still classified. How did Jeffrey Epstein make all that money? How did he...
Oh boy, don't even go there, Tucker. Don't go there. Yeah, well, that's another thing, right? That's another thing. I heard there was a lot of blackmail behind that, but who knows? Let's let Tucker preach. I'm just going to be quiet.
He die? How about JFK? And so endlessly on. Not only are the media not interested in any of this, they are actively hostile to anybody who is. In journalism, curiosity is the gravest crime.
Yeah.
Yesterday, for example.
Can you say that one more time? In journalism, curiosity is the greatest crime, isn't it?
Yesterday, for example, a former Air Force officer is the gravest crime. They are actively hostile to anybody who is. In journalism, curiosity is the gravest crime.
That is crazy, man. This is crazy. But you know this even like with C-19, the pestilence 19 pandemic. Now Twitter is backing off and saying, you may talk about this. We will not censor you if you mention this anymore. And 2020 election, there must have been some fraud and whatever it is concerning Trump. You can talk about these things now. And I thought about it. I'm like, well, you already have the victory. You've already managed to do what you wanted to do by suppressing our speech. I got so many videos taken down. I was made to feel I was misinforming the public by questioning the narrative, by questioning whether or not we needed to roll up our sleeves and take the syringe. To refuse to do that, you were considered a plague, an evil individual. And now we can talk about it. So you've had your goals achieved. You've gotten what you wanted. You've censored the public. How many lives have been destroyed? How many celebrities are going to all kind of mental health issues? How many families have been buried? How many dead bodies? How many souls? How many individuals are no longer with us? So our speech was suppressed. The money was made. You created your supposed inoculation, and you stick every person in against their will, under duress. People made decisions. They were motivated by fear. Now we can talk about it. Now we are allowed to have an opinion about it on YouTube because you've already achieved your goals. I mean, you see how diabolical this stuff has been? I'm just saying. It's so frustrating. So frustrating. And this is why we got to fight back. Even when it costs me. I mean, you know how many times my channel has been demonetized? And I'm a small YouTuber. You know how many times videos were removed? I mean, the whole channel was canceled over information that were later on proven to be true. There's no apologies. There's no I'm sorry. There's no I'm taking it back. There's no we made a mistake. This was like we did it because we could.
Yesterday, for example, a former Air Force officer who worked for years in military intelligence came forward as a whistleblower to reveal that the U.S. government has physical evidence of crashed non-human-made aircraft, as well as the bodies of the pilots who flew those aircraft. The Pentagon has spent decades studying these otherworldly...
I heard about that, man. I mean, I'm one of those very skeptical persons about aliens and stuff like that. Is either these people have... There's something really fishy going on. I need to be praying about this. There's something dark going on. I mean, you don't hear this in the news, do you?
Decades studying these otherworldly remains in order to build more technologically advanced weapons systems. Okay, that's what the former intel officer revealed, and it was clear he was telling the truth. In other words, UFOs are actually real, and apparently so is extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Wow.
In a normal country, this news would qualify as a bombshell, the story of the millennium. But in our country, it doesn't. The whistleblower's account ran on a technology website called The Debrief, which you've probably never heard of. The Washington Post had that story, but decided not to run it. The New York Times, meanwhile, just pretended it never happened. On the front page of the New York Times website this morning, there were 5 stories about Ukraine, as well as 4 stories apiece about Donald Trump, trans people, and climate change, the usual lineup.
Of course.
There was nothing at all about how an alien species is flying hypersonic aircraft over our cities. Not one word. So if you're wondering why our country seems so dysfunctional, this is a big part of the reason. Nobody knows what's happening. A small group of people control access to all relevant information, and the rest of us don't know. We're allowed to yap all we want about racism, but go ahead and talk about something that really matters and see what happens. If you keep it up, they'll make you be quiet. Trust us. That's how they maintain control. When Western tourists first started traveling in large numbers to the Soviet Union in the early 1970s, they found that many Russians had a completely warped understanding of the United States. They thought that Americans lived in grinding poverty, in a state of perpetual race war, and were desperate to flee to the freedom and prosperity of the Eastern Bloc. They thought this because that's what they had been told. They had no
And that's how we are right now.
way to know otherwise. The few Russians who understood what was really going on in the rest of the world had learned about it from listening to shortwave radio broadcasts, sometimes under the covers so the neighbors wouldn't hear. 50 years later, it is bewildering to consider the ironies here. We're the ones who live in ignorance now. The US government has managed to classify more than 1 billion so-called public documents. So at this point, we can't possibly know what our leaders are doing. We're not allowed to know.
It's all redacted.
By definition,
It's all redacted. You are not allowed to know. That is crazy.
that is not a democracy. Yet it's fine with the media. Secrecy is a powerful tool of control.
Yes, it is.
Stop asking how we got so rich. Here's another story about racism. Go eat each other.
Oh my Lord, Tucker, you're crazy. That's what I miss about Tucker, man. Is that sarcasm. He kept a straight face the whole time. And in truth, though, I found myself doing videos about some of this stuff, and I mean, it works. It doesn't it, right? Because we don't focus on anything. Like, there's stuff happening in other places around the world. We're supposed to think only the West, only the United States. I mean, there's stuff happening in Haiti that I recently read about. I was like, my Lord, this should be worldwide news, But there's stuff happening in different parts of Africa. But we are more determined to go to Uganda and try to police and censor them because they got gay laws over there. It's like there's like 67 countries with the same laws, or even worse. Anyway, it's like the flow of information is. No wonder why we are so deranged. We are so confused. We're talking about nonsense. We're talking about things that have no substance, no lasting impact. It's crazy how effective that has been. I mean, I have to admit, I'm confessing that I end up talking about some of it myself. Being a YouTuber, we get involved in some of the discussions and stuff like that, the hot topics, right? But when you do check it out, it's really, many of them are distractions, man. They're distractions.
That's the program. That's how most of us now live here in the United States. Manipulated by lies, silenced by taboos. It is unhealthy and it's dehumanizing, and we're tired of it. As of today, we've come to Twitter, which we hope will be the shortwave radio under the blankets.
Yes.
We're told there are no gatekeepers here. If that turns out to be false, we'll leave. But in the meantime, we are grateful to be here. We'll be back with much more very soon.
Wow.
People say the news is full of lies.
Tucker is back. I mean, I miss me some Tucker, man. I haven't heard anything of this level of substance in such a long time. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world, and there's a lot of stuff that the news are reporting, but Tucker brings home the goods, man. I mean, this is like, oh, this is good for my soul. It really is, man. I love this because I just don't hear it. It's just not talked about. It's not mentioned. We are left to starve by the wayside. Let me read something to you. This is George Clinton. He said, "Whoever controls the flows of information dictates our perception and perspective. Whoever controls the news shapes our destiny." Tell you what, we don't need to be wrapped up in all these stuff to live a decent life. I'm gonna be honest. There's more to life than just all the stuff. I wake up in the morning. I thank the Lord for waking me up. I spend my time with my son. We have our devotional and family devotional. And then I make some breakfast for them. And then I find my special place with the Lord. I go away, and there's a part of our yard where I go, and then I just sit and spend time with Jesus, with the Bible, with my devotional book, with my prayer list. And I find myself at peace. I find myself sheltered into the arms of Jesus. There is my favorite place to be. But I have to come back to the real world and re-examine what is happening. What I'm trying to say is, don't be distracted by some of this stuff. Be aware, be knowledgeable, but don't be distracted. A lot of this stuff is here to keep you running left and right and missing the marks. I will say, make time for Christ. And then do your research. I did say I'm going to show you a channel. So let me be true to myself about that. Go over to Redacted. If you don't know them, get to know them. Redacted. They speak about this as well. I'm not going to go do much talking here.
The judge.
But this is a video.
What happens when you destroy a dam. Just look at that.
Yeah.
Thousands of innocent people die in their towns.
This is the dam that was destroyed.
And they're all floating away now, right?
So it's good. They have a video. I'm going to put a link in the description below. You need to check them out because they have a video. This is Jamal Bowman. You need to go watch this because they go a little bit deeper. But to go back to what I was saying, friends, when you shall hear of the wars and rumors of wars, and be you not troubled, for such things must need be, but the end is not yet. For nations shall rise against nation, and kingdoms against kingdoms, and there shall be famines, there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles, and these are the beginning of sorrows. In other words, we haven't seen nothing yet. We are hearing of the wars and rumors of wars and division and all kind of head clash. But Jesus says, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. These are signs of Christ returned. So we must be aware, awakened, and alert, but at the same time not distracted from building a stronger relationship with Christ. We must know what's going on, how it fits in Bible prophecy, how close we are to the ends of time, and yet keep our minds straight. That's a challenge for some of us, but it's doable. Thank you for listening, though. Tucker Carlson was amazing. My heart is filled with joy. My heart is filled with joy. I wish more people will talk like this. But thank God for Tucker. we're going to keep enjoying the content. As he brings more news our way, we will be reacting along the way. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. Set your eyes on him, who is the author and the finisher of our faith. By the way, his name is Jesus Christ. Have a good one. Bye.